Many are predicting that the worst is yet to come, which is unfortunate, said one person here. Until now, they've enjoyed the reputation of being the nation's icebox.
Watched a burglar in his home this morning by webcam.
As a journalist of over 25 years, stories are what make my world turn.
Reporting live from the Dallas newsroom tonight, Jeff Crilley, Fox 4 News.
But in 2008, I took the jump from my familiar life and started a PR firm from my home.
We're talking about anyone with a camcorder like the one I'm using becomes a television network.
We started slowly growing the company, and we now have over 100 clients, and we've branched into the world of live digital broadcasting. I now own 8 different TV studios and have a huge team, and the stories that I now get to share are sometimes the most important of my life. Life has a funny way of coming around full circle. This is the Jeff Crilley Show.
Welcome to my show. If you've been watching for a while, you know that I love to put a spotlight on organizations that are just doing wonderful things in our community. And joining us today, Tiffany Beaudine. She is the CEO of Rainbow Days. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Jeff. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Well, your organization has been around for how many years?
We've been around for almost 40 years right here in Dallas, Texas.
40 years. And tell me again the audience you serve.
So Rainbow Days goes in and works with children and youth that are at risk. We work with kids ages 4 to 17 by partnering with shelters and rec centers and Dallas ISD schools, Richardson ISD schools, and we're all about breaking the negative cycles of substance abuse, of poverty, by teaching kids skills that they need so that they can overcome adversity and stay drug-free.
You told me a story just before we went live about one young lady that really touched your heart. Tell us that story.
So it's one of my favorite stories. This young woman who we began seeing when she was in 5th grade at her local elementary school, we worked with her in our after-school program. She got homework assistance, tutoring, and built relationships with positive adult mentors that were our staff members. But she also learned about how to set goals for her future, how to cope with difficult problems through our 5 major messages that Rainbow Days teaches through our evidence-based curriculum. Marissa began to know that she was not alone in her problems, that she could set positive goals for her future, and that she could believe in herself to have a purpose. And so I'm pleased to share that not only Marissa graduated successfully, went through all of her Dallas ISD schools, but she was the first one in her family to graduate from college. She went on to go to Texas Tech and is actually sort of in this industry. She's in the marketing PR industry, but for a local company. And she actually came full circle and started working for us several years ago before she headed off into her career. So it was very exciting.
That is so cool. And you guys are no stranger to news coverage. We found a nice piece on your website that NBC5 did. Let's watch that now.
The more the kids are home, the more we spend.
After being on her feet all day, her work still isn't done. But Julie says it's worth it for her children.
They are the only valuable thing I have in the world.
She's an essential worker with a modest income, trying to survive a pandemic.
With the kids being at home and me going to work every day, it's not been easy.
That's where Rainbow Days steps in.
We are trying to instill in them belief in themselves and belief for tomorrow.
The Dallas-based nonprofit helps children and youth touched by poverty, abuse, or addiction. They also work with families living in hotels, like Julie and her kids have at one point. Since the pandemic,
And that program has actually doubled.
the goal is to meet immediate and emotional needs.
It has gone from 65 kids at the beginning of March to now we serve over 138 children and families.
Delivering food, retraining destructive thoughts, and promoting positive behavior is more important now than ever.
Many of them are hourly workers, and so they've lost their jobs. There's definitely an added layer of anxiety and the uncertainty of what's going to happen next.
Julie's children each have their own talents and strengths, fostered by the time they spend with trained counselors and staff members at Rainbow Days. She's seen the positive impact, she appreciates the support, and she anticipates what's to come.
I want a better life for them. I want the best for them.
In Dallas, Candace Sweat, NBC5.
Such a great news piece. Let's talk about that. So the pandemic probably hit giving, and the need went up as well.
Yes, significantly for both. One thing we've had to cancel on the fundraising side is we've had to reschedule our Pot of Gold luncheon, which will now be online, a virtual event on June 25th. So any viewers that would like to tune in, we're going to have Darren Woodson as our honorary chair, and we're so pleased to be able to film his remarks here in this awesome studio. And we're going to have a fantastic auction. So even though giving has been down in that regard, we've been able to pivot and shift our efforts in a different way so that we can meet the growing needs of children and families in our community.
Yes, and just so you can see where your money goes, this is a clip from North Texas Giving Day.
We're spending the day building Easter baskets.
We want to still provide some sense of normalcy for the kids during this time.
We're so thankful for all of our generous donations.
Well, we've got some household items for our parents that are made with the budget sweets through our Project Hope program.
These are all the baskets that we've completed.
Today I'm so grateful for the volunteers.
Why not get out and share what I have? I have so much time to give.
This makes a big difference to them to feel like someone's still out there for them.
One mom just told me that my freezer was empty and I really didn't know what we were going to eat today, but I knew that Rainbow Days was coming.
I actually miss all my friends and Rainbow Days.
Everything that's going on these days, it's just nice to know that someone cares about them and loves them.
In addition to food, Rainbow Days is committed to meeting the children's social and emotional health needs during this time.
Wow. How did you get involved? And you've been there for how many years?
20 years, Jeff. I can't believe it's been that long.
Did you start out as just a volunteer?
As a baby, that's what it happened. Because I'm only 29 now.
Exactly.
So,
of course.
So yes, through a friend of a friend, our former CEO, who is our founder of Rainbow Days, Kathy Brown, her niece introduced me through a mutual friend, and I've always had a heart for service and for giving and for volunteering, and I have a communications background. I'm a proud Aggie, fighting Texas Aggie class of 99, with my speech communications background. So it was a natural fit to fall into fundraising and communications for the organization. And I never dreamed that I would be here 20 years later as the CEO. I feel very proud and very blessed.
Wow. Tell me more about the volunteers, because I know that's important to your organization. Do you have a need for volunteers right now?
We do, Jeff. Thank you so much for asking. We work with over 1,000 volunteers that help us all throughout the year with our programs. Usually during our busy summer months, we actually have 5 weeks of summer camp on a typical year that volunteers help serve lunch, play games with the kids, teach classes. This year's going to be a little bit different, but one way that volunteers can help right now is we are still doing our food program that was just featured on the North Texas Giving Day piece that you just showed, and where volunteers are helping staff go out and deliver food to the families that we serve that are living in low-cost budget suites, motels. So twice a month you could do that. We have opportunities in our office to stuff goodie bags for the kids, put packets together so that they can continue their learning at home over the summer, and as they're reminded of the skills that they've learned during our support group process.
Outstanding. Well, we're out of time for this segment. We're going to put your website up so people can get plugged in. rainbowdays.org is the website. Tiffany, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
You bet. That's it for now. We'll see you next time.